Mayor live, and we just followed our first maiden voyage on Frank's speech, and really enjoyed it. And hopefully tomorrow that might be on X also. So here you are, my usual audience. We're hoping to develop another one and put you all together. Uh, but let's begin. I mean, this was an amazing 5 days, and there are people that believe that the 5 days will determine the election. I think there's a good prediction of that, but you got to predict that. You're not going to know what decides this election until at least the day after, who knows what. I mean, sometimes elections take a lot of analysis to figure out what decides them. But to say that these are historical developments, I would say yes. And what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is the debate the other night in which no candidate has ever come close to performing, I don't know how to describe it, proving to you he's unfit to be president. I mean, really taking it to the level of a national security issue. I mean, how do we trust this man with the button? Doesn't it explain the condition the world's in? I mean, without whether you like Trump or not, you gotta acknowledge the truth, right? So the truth is that Trump, when he left office, the world was at peace, by and large, right? I mean, they were at peace. Russia had not invaded Ukraine. The Hamas hadn't come into Israel and killed 1,200 men, women, and children. And Israel hadn't come back in a war of self-defense to destroy Hamas. You got both of them going on now. And you've got Biden executing them. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, we've had some brilliant execution of wars in our history and some really dumb ones. This defies any description. I mean, it goes back to the original problem when he went into Afghanistan and he took out the troops before the civilians, and he got all the civilians killed. There is not a nitwit in the world that would do that. I don't even know. I mean, I can tell you why he gave up Bagram Air Base. Bagram Air Base is 400 miles from China. It was strategically unbelievably important to us. Milley lied about it. Milley had originally said it was, then he said it wasn't. But Milley, I don't know what's wrong with Milley. Milley's the guy who was going to warn China in case we attacked them. So I have no idea how he's a general. But in my day, generals, didn't talk to the enemy. But I mean, the Democrats protect him. So the reality is that I don't care how you analyze debate. We'll do a little of it. And I don't even want to listen to you if you're going to tell me that you actually think he should be in office. Then you're just stupid. I mean, the guy is unfit for office. He clearly has dementia. It has clearly gotten worse. The performance there's never been a presidential performance like that. In the past, no one would have thought to put a demented nitwit like this up for president. No one would have thought the American people were stupid enough to vote for him. And no one would have thought they could have concealed what they concealed and covered up what they covered up in order to get it by. Remember, they defrauded you to elect him. That whole thing with the hard drive and the 51 intelligence traders. You didn't find out what a massive crook he is until after. You didn't find out what a massive liar he is until afterwards. Wow. Well, that's one. Number two are the decisions of the Supreme Court, the most important one being the one today. I spent a good deal of time on the prior show analyzing it, but I'll show you my conclusion. You'll get it pretty quickly. This is a little chart here that I made up. I hope you can see it. It says at the top, conclusive and preclusive, official action and unofficial action. So the Supreme Court has divided presidential power. You want this? Has divided presidential power for purposes of analysis in what is a brilliant decision by Justice Roberts. Really one worth reading. I don't care if you're a lawyer or not. if you have any interest in constitutional history, which is a different thing than constitutional law, I would read this. I mean, this is as good a description of separation of powers as we have since the founding fathers. I mean, I knew John Roberts when he first got out of law school, and he is a brilliant judge. I get annoyed sometimes because I think he caves into the Washington crowd a little too much. Maybe I'm being overly sensitive, but wow. And it came at the right time, just when I was losing confidence in our law. This is a great opinion. I mean, this one will be in law books right near the top in the section on separation of powers, powers of the presidency. And he kept it completely non-political, except if you're in the know, you can pick a few things up. For example, he constantly needles the Justice Department with Smith's case, the McDonald case. That's the case in which he did exactly the same thing that the president says he's doing to him, in which he prosecuted Governor McDonald, got a conviction enough to destroy the political career of the governor. And then the case was reversed 8-0 by the Supreme Court, based mostly on his unethical, close to criminal behavior. So the Supreme Court cites that case more than they really should. They had to remember who came before them, right? It was only a few years ago. I mean, you know, they don't get too many cases where they decide 8-0 and throw it out because the prosecutor's a bum. Well, the bum is here now. And it had to have something to do with the case. They also make it very, very clear that they're very unhappy with the way the case was handled below because it was rushed so much. And we know why it was rushed, because it's not a case. It's an attempt to interfere with the election, as are the other three. And if you don't get this tried before the election, you kind of blew the whole purpose of it. Well, from their point of view, this case raises unbelievably troublesome constitutional issues that the judge below didn't even bother to consider, because the judge below is a Democratic operative, not a judge. I mean, Justice Roberts can't say she's not a judge, but she's not. And the Court of Appeals stopped being a Court of Appeals when they started putting J6 people in jail as if they were, the worst, as if they were Black Lives Matter people burning down buildings who don't go to jail at all. So here's the way it works out. President doesn't have complete immunity for everything, like the silly Democrats were saying. He can't, go out in the streets of Washington and murder some kid, and he can't sell drugs, unless I guess he sells them to Hunter. He can't have drugs in the White House unless he's President Biden. He really can't take money from China and then give up air bases. That's bribery. Oh yeah, gee, but we don't put Biden in that category. So basically, they say that to determine if the president has immunity or not, you have to look at where his power derives from the Constitution. And the power comes from only two places. Well, it comes from the people. We have limited power. Every government agency and official has limited power. Here are the president's powers. They come from the Constitution or from the laws of Congress. So he has the power to appoint an attorney general. He has the power, therefore, to remove the attorney general. Now, Justice Roberts uses some big words, but they're simple. He calls that conclusive and preclusive power. Conclusive means it's clear he has that power. You don't have to do a lot of thinking about it. And preclusive means nobody else has it. For that, the president has absolute immunity. So the charges in the indictment that say that Trump shouldn't have talked to his attorney general about looking into the election, shouldn't have threatened his attorney general of being fired for not doing a good job, if he in fact did that. You have to assume these are all true before the indictment is tried. All of that is immune, and they threw it out. Smith, that was a completely bogus charge, unconstitutional and illegal. Good start, pal. Kind of like what you did to McDonald, you creep. Then we look at the rest of it. The rest of it falls under the category of official. Is it official action or unofficial action? And these are not powers that are conclusive and exclusive. These are powers that he shares with the Congress, with the court. They're not just his, not just the president's. For example, on legislation, proposing legislation, and Congress passes it, right? So let's say the charges in the indictment about his discussions with the vice president, Vice President Pence. Now, those are by and large just like the attorney general, except for one little wrinkle here to show how complex this case is and how these communist Marxist Democrats don't care about things like this. But, you know, if they got what they wanted and Trump wins the election, an attorney general at Trump's could indict Biden for about 50 crimes. Like, how about getting the people killed in Afghanistan? How about getting the people killed in Ukraine? I think I could prove that that wouldn't have happened except for Biden's criminally, grossly negligent conduct. How about his giving away the airbase? I think I'd have a pretty good bribery case there. And the one in Ukraine is done. So here's what they say about that. Talking to the vice president, when he's talking to him, his capacity as vice president, completely immune, can't touch him. Now, the vice president has a role as president of the Senate, and he has a role in presiding over this review or determination of the electors. And that's kind of an ambiguous role. It's not necessarily in Article 2. It's not necessarily a purely executive role. It's kind of a mixed role. At the same time, the president has to have the ability to talk to his vice president about how he exercises that authority because he is his subordinate. So they say you're going to have to look at that, and you're going to have to make a determination of whether the president's conversations with the vice president fall within the outer perimeter of his power. And you have to presume that it does. So let me put it the other way. The government has to prove that whatever he said or did with the vice president does not fall even vaguely in the area of his power as president. And believe me, it does. Third, president had conversations with state officials and with civilians. They don't talk about his conversations with his lawyers. I would imagine the judge just assumes, but somebody should tell him under Biden it doesn't exist anymore. There's attorney-client privilege for that. When Roberts practiced law, we had attorney-client privilege, but you know he wasn't under the Biden fascist regime where we don't have it any longer for Trump people. But in any event, the conversations with state officials and with others falls under his power to faithfully execute the laws of the United States. That's a power of the president. As Roberts points out, there's no exception for the election laws. The election laws are laws of the United States. If the president doesn't enforce them, nobody can enforce them. So therefore, we could have, thousands of, kind of like we had in 2020, when the Justice Department decided under Barr not to do a damn thing. So every one of those conversations, he's enforcing the election laws. The question is, did he stay within the outer perimeter of his authority to enforce the election laws, or did he go beyond it? And it has to be objective. It's not based on his motives. You can't look at his motives. And then they finally say that they want this to be done carefully, not quickly, the way they did it before, where it was all result-oriented. Doesn't say that, but he infers it. And here's the kicker that sort of, I guess, is the best news for Trump of all. the government argued, the crooked Smith argued, but after this gets decided, we'll go to trial, and then it'll all be decided on appeal later. So he could do a thing like he did to McDonald. Roberts is a little too smart for that, and says, given the extraordinary nature of these issues and issues of first impression, after the judge is finished with all this work we've given her to decide factually, when we don't think it would be fair to go right to trial. We think these issues are so close and so new, then they should come up to us and we have to review them. So they got her on a string, right? Very beautifully done, John Roberts. You'd have to know the background of it to understand what I'm telling you. A lot of people are not going to understand it. But when you see the McDonald case there, you know why it's there. When you see the exception being made to interlocutory appeals, you know why that's being done. He doesn't trust her. Doesn't trust the district court either. Makes the same criticism of them. And then Justice Thomas adds a wrinkle to it that I don't know. I mean, they could have actually avoided all this by using this, but this would not have been as educational. And I think it was correct to take this all on completely, because he does say numerous times where I think you get a sense that he's really upset about it. This is the first time in the history of our republic that a president or ex-president has been prosecuted by his opponent. Now, who does that? And I say to you, John Roberts, you just prevented us from being a banana republic. God bless you. Thank you. Justice Thomas says Smith was never really appointed. They were so anxious to get this hitman, unethical prosecutor who could relive what he did to McDonald to Trump that they forgot that the attorney general could only appoint people who have a statutory position. You can't just go pick Smith and make a job for him, which is what he did. There's no job for him. So you get appointed to the Justice Department two ways. Superior officers are appointed by the president, and they fall under the Constitution, and they have to be confirmed by the Senate. Both times I was in Washington, I was, actually as a U.S. attorney, I was confirmed by the Senate. And when I was Associate Attorney General, I was confirmed by the Senate. And there were clear statutory positions that I held. Associate Attorney General is a statutory position. U.S. Attorney is a statutory position. Now let's talk about assistant U.S. attorneys. Assistant U.S. attorneys are inferior officers. They're appointed by the head of the department. But he can only appoint to a position that exists. He can't create a special counsel that has no legislation and say you're the special counsel. He's kind of like making up the law then, taking on the role of Congress. In fact, it's even worse because Congress did away with the special counsel, did away with the independent counsel. He's not only creating something Congress hasn't created, he's creating something Congress has said they didn't want. I mean, you could throw the case out, the whole thing, just on that. And that's how lawless they are. That's how they don't care about our Constitution. That's why they're such damn hypocrites. And thank God he fell apart. And you got to see what I've been telling you for years. Number one, he's the stupidest man I ever met. And number two, he's demented as hell. And it's a national security issue, my fellow citizens, not just a Democratic Party issue. Who gives a damn what the Democratic Party wants to do? I don't give a damn who their nominee is. I give a damn about the fact that a guy who had that performance the other night is sitting there with a nuclear button, and he's getting women and children killed all over the country because he doesn't even know what he's doing at the border. We'll be right back to take a look at the most disastrous performance in the history of presidential debates ever. Hopefully, there will never be another one like this, because hopefully we'll never have a criminal, demented, perverted bum like this in the White House ever again.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
We're back again with the America's Mayor Live. And let me tell you a little bit about the polls for a minute. The polls are the CNN flash poll that night was 67-33. Don't know if there's ever been one that big. The Schoen Cooperman poll a day or so later was 51-23. The election poll was only 49-43. But then the CBS poll the next day was the biggest number for Trump, which was 76%. And also 76% said they didn't want him, including 46% of Democrats. They want him off the ticket. Well, we're getting the runaround on that, aren't we? They're circling the wagons. And I wonder if some of these people don't regret what they said originally. You know, right away, they came right out of the box and they were in a state of shock. And then Scarborough the next morning, man, friends like Scarborough, you don't need me. Wow. This guy is, you know, I would say this guy's like Julius Caesar, but would be an insult to a guy who was a great author, a great general, had a few problems, but I don't think he was the kind of criminal that Biden is. So let's take a look at his performance and tell me, where's the doubt here? I mean, what's the issue? The guy's unfit to be president. Forget the Democratic Party. Get him the hell out of the White House. He could start another war. Let's look at him walking out. Let's look at the jackass walking out, waving to nobody. We got the. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. He's waving at nobody. Now, I don't know if he's. I honestly don't know if he knows he's waving at nobody.
Yeah, we'll bring it back up on a different screen.
46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
I wouldn't know what the cameraman is. There he is, standing there. Now, I mean, right from the beginning, you knew the guy was out of it. He sounded like he was half asleep. Let's pick out. Let's start with his allegation that he created 15,000 new jobs, and then Trump's knockout punching.
Yeah, set the scene while I bring it up here.
So that's 252.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up. Sorry, it just takes a second to transition between videos.
So he basically says he created 15,000 new jobs. Actually, he created no more than about 6,000. All the rest were comeback jobs.
So we'll bring it up here.
There were jobs that Trump had created that
down
were
in
put
the
aside for the
position where
pandemic and then were
we
brought
have
back.
800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out in the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done.
So they heard it on the, I gotta find a way to play it for you and him. I gotta find a way to do it for both.
And do we have Trump's response?
Well, it's next.
So Trump,
I'm gonna play that next. I have a transition between clips.
well,
Bring it up.
I think this is taking too long. So maybe we should try something else. I'll just tell them to you and then maybe we can get them ready for tomorrow night and show it to them. Okay, let's play that one.
Illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
I mean, there you might also take some time to take a look at his face while Trump was pummeling him, and Trump did a much better job than they're willing to concede. I mean, that was a heck of a quick response on the jobs right away. I mean, there wasn't a thing he didn't respond to that he wanted to. Then he makes the extraordinary statement. He's the only president first he says the only president in this country, and then the only president in this decade, having not lost any soldiers, which of course ignores a lot of them, but 13 that he definitely got killed, whose families hold him responsible for it, and now are on television talking about what a lousy bum he is. I mean, he doesn't remember? Of course he doesn't remember. Don't you remember he's looking at his watch when that happened? Of course he got him killed. He got him killed with exercising the kind of judgment a person like you saw the other night exercises. He could exercise it now and get more people killed. What are we doing with him in the White House now? Forget the Democrat. Who cares about the Democratic Party? They're just a bunch of crooks.
Let's play the clip. We got it.
The only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Like you did. First of all, the last year in Afghanistan, maybe 2 years, nobody was lost. Trump lost no one in Afghanistan. But can you imagine? I mean, you have these people who several times have complained about how you don't call them, you don't do anything. You were looking at your watch. You got their kids killed because of the unbelievably, grossly negligent, if not criminal way in which you took the people out of there. We all know that Putin invaded because of your gross negligence in Afghanistan. And you say you never lost anybody? Like they're not human? How about the people that you lost in the Middle East? You lied about that for a few months, that are being hit by your friends' proxies, your friends, Iran, the Ayatollah. I think they're your friends when you give them billions of dollars, right? You and Obama. Obama gave him billions to kill Americans. What the hell's he doing not in jail? And my friend Bannon's in jail for doing a hell of a lot less than your attorney general is doing, hiding. No wonder your crooked attorney general won't show us the her video. 2 days of depositions in which the guy concludes that you're a nice old man and you can't remember. What a sucker, concluding that. That guy shouldn't prosecute anything. Everybody's all happy about his report, and he wouldn't work for me. My goodness, you couldn't possibly, if the guy is, I don't know what he is, and they won't show you the video because it'll show you a babbling, stupid, moronic idiot like what you saw in that debate, maybe even worse. They say he can't remember within 3 years when his son died. He doesn't remember when his father and uncle died. He thinks he had them in the White House 7 years after they were dead. This guy is delusional. And it is not as if he's just some, guy running a store. He's running the biggest, greatest country on earth with more military power than has ever been known to man. He's getting people getting killed left and right with his incompetence in the Ukraine. He's holding Bibi back. We could have been finished with Hamas if it wasn't for him worried about getting a few measly votes in Michigan. It's all explainable when you watch the debate. And then they say, oh, the next night he gave a great, first of all, it wasn't a great speech. If that's a great speech, my God, I should never have taught speaking. I taught him all the wrong things, like to articulate and slow down. Don't just yell. And then he constantly does this. I don't know if he's moving around some of the stuff Hunter gave him or whatever, but he's always going like this. So let's, then here's another one. And I have the support of the Border Patrol. Let's see.
Endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found.
Now that proves that he lives in a completely weird world. If you let so many people in, right? What was it, 10 million or so? And remember how he double-crossed all those Border Patrol agents? He made it appear as if they were whipping people, he and Mayorkas. And it was determined conclusively they didn't. And they got off the punishment, but he never apologized. The Border Patrol is going to endure it? I mean, you got to be boop, 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 boop. Now, here, I resent the fact that the left winger said, well, Trump really didn't win. Well, Trump picked up on this one. Would he have been capable of picking up on this? No, because he's demented. So Trump, when he gets the chance, says, oh, and by the way, Joe, they supported me. Check with Brandon. Brandon is the.
Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
President Trump. President Biden.
Well, that's true, too. Thank you. And we love Trump. He did a great job. He really did a great job. He was on target right away. What about, do we have that exchange, which I think sort of set the tone of it, when he says, I beat Medicare?
Yeah.
And Trump said, you sure did.
Yeah, that was a good one. And
You sure beat it. You sure did. You're bankrupting it, you dumb B. Yeah, just bring in 10 million. Just bring in 10 million people who aren't paying anything in, and let's see if we can give them Medicaid too, and Medicare, and Social Security, and COVID money, and the mayor in New York gives them credit cards. And by the way, they are disproportionately engaging in human trafficking. You've put us on the map as the biggest human trafficker, Joe. I mean, I know you're somewhat perverted, but I didn't think you were that perverted.
No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea.
The idea of what?
No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea.
No one wants to screw around with us. Where have you been living? Since the day you came into office, they've been screwing. First of all, Putin played you like a stupid fiddle in order to invade. I mean, for 2 months, and I got it all over my podcast. He's playing you. You don't even know you're being played, you moron.
here's the clip you wanted to.
I'm gonna go into Ukraine. No, don't. That's all he says. Don't. But no boots on the ground. Oh, let me hear that one more time. I'm gonna go into Ukraine. It's on the ground. I'm going to go into Ukraine. Then I'm going to go into Ukraine. Well, if you just go in a little bit, that'll be okay. It'll be okay. Just a little, just a small one. Now, which one do you want to play now? Because the one that I thought was fabulous, because I use it all the time, maybe I'm just prejudiced, was how Trump remembered to point out that it is beyond doubt that these people would be alive if Biden weren't in the White House. Because Putin, Putin likes to invade. He invaded under Bush when Bush was weak and getting killed. He invaded under Obama when Obama had what? Proven that he's a really coward and traitor by drawing red lines and then constantly backing off because he was afraid. I mean, he waited 12 times before Biden said, "Okay, I got another sucker here," like Bush was. Boom! I'm going to go in and take Ukraine. And Biden, Jesus, I mean, you knew. You have to be a fool not to know that Putin wasn't going to take advantage of it. But gee, I just missed somebody in that analysis, didn't I? In between all of them was the four years of Trump. He didn't go anywhere in 4 years of Trump. Because what he says, that they're afraid of us and they're not afraid of him. They were afraid of Trump. Good.
What he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war.
Did you see his face? Did you guys, I have Ted and Stephen and Dr. Maria here, but did you see his face? Yeah. He looked like he didn't understand what Trump was saying.
Yeah. It appeared at times he didn't know what President Trump was saying. I'll bring it up here on the side screen.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best. And I do not understand how this wasn't one of the best presidential debates. He made every point he had to make. He avoided everything they thought he would do wrong, and the so-called lies that they're talking about were nothing in comparison to like Border Patrol, and I reduced. I created 15,000. I mean, those are straight out lies. They're taking some exaggerations that occur at every debate, but they're missing these unbelievably great strategic points.
How about this one? Wait.
Pick it.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
That's their favorite.
I didn't know what he said. I realize now he said asylum officers. But I had to listen to it 10 times to figure that out. I thought he said
Asylum.
Border Patrol.
That's what I thought.
And this whole thing is he needs. I remember once about 4 months ago, he was saying he couldn't do anything. Then, now he's doing something, but he said he couldn't do anything. And he said, but if they gave me the Border Patrol, I could. Now, I have no idea why no one asks a question, because nobody cares about America. This guy actually doesn't think he runs the Border Patrol. What do you mean, give you the Border Patrol? This is, remember we were talking about Robert's opinion about conclusive and power? You have conclusive power over the border, my friend. Pretty much absolute. You can do whatever the hell you want if you declare a national emergency. And you declared a national emergency, but you kept those kids. I don't know how many kids have nervous breakdowns and all screwed up because of you and your teachers union that owns you and the stepmother in chief, or what do we call her? The first stepmother. Oh, she's a doozy. She wants you to stay. And so does your crooked son.
Well, let's go back to that original one you wanted. We beat Medicare.
To make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
That's awesome.
You shouldn't laugh. I mean, we've been doing this for years now. When I did my first thing on him almost 4 years ago with the two doctors, and we were preparing, a lot, because I was also preparing Trump for the debate. We used to spend a lot of time laughing when we find these things. He was saying stuff that was wacky too. I mean, I like it when the little children touch the hair on my legs. I mean, one of the doctors said, the only people I know like that are complete perverts. Who likes little children touching the hair on your legs? Whoa. Maybe that's why he's so tolerant about this crap that goes on. Like his crazy Health and Human Services, Levine, whatever it is, Levine. There's an organization called WPAT or something, and they're very, very left wing. And they set guidelines for 15 years old. You got to be at least 15 years old for hormones. You got to be 16 years old for a mastectomy. And you got to be 17 years old to have your penis taken off. So he went in and objected. How do you think he objected? How would you object to that? You'd say, get the hell out of here, right? You'd say, all you guys should be, we should all go to California where they give low penalties for people who attack children. But just get the hell out of my state or my country. He wanted no age limits, particularly on the surgeries. He wants to chop them up as fast as he can, particularly on the surgeries. So he can take off your genitals, male, female, because of him or her. I'm sorry. Why is he inflicting his pathology on us? And what the hell is wrong with a president who puts him there? I mean, I don't care if whatever he is, but you got to make decisions in the public interest. You can't tell me this guy isn't all screwed up because of the way he is. You don't go and do that to kids. What are you going to do with their 12-year-olds? How about maybe even before their puberty? We start changing them because you decide they're girls. Suppose they change their mind. You know what happens then? They commit suicide, jackass. But you're not a jackass. You're a guy that's playing out your own agenda at the expense of our children. That's a sin. And you, Biden, it's just one of the many things that you're responsible for, so that when Trump says you're the worst president in history, he's understating. Let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Well, I want to show you, this is Rudy Giuliani, America's Mayor Live. I want to show you how this is not just... he fouled up and he was I mean, you know it's more serious than that. You know, we're looking at a man who has dementia, and he's sitting in the most important office in the country, and it's a disgrace. And its impact on national security is completely impossible to describe. And it really is very, very sad that we have very few people who have the courage to stand up to it. Some of the Democrats are standing up to it now, not the politicians, but the the sycophants and the talking heads and the newspaper people. But they're not doing it for any reason that's any good. They're doing it because they don't want Trump. If they had a poll right now that said, despite the fact that he's a nitwit, he's going to get 60% and Trump's going to get 40%. And everybody else is going to lose to Trump. They'd go get him all the medicine they could, and they'd keep him on, and they'd tell you really didn't see what you saw the other night. He was doing it he was doing it because he wants to show his comedic side. The only reason they're doing it is for all the worst reasons. They should have been doing it 3 years ago. They should have done it when he was thinking that he saw the dead congresswoman in the audience, and he had just called the family to wish his condolences. Doesn't do that with soldiers, but he does it with congressmen. They should have done it when he walked up to the president of Cambodia in Cambodia and thought he was in Colombia. They should have started doing it when he fell down going up the stairs. Who the hell falls down going upstairs? They sure should have done it when he told the story of how he gave the Purple Heart to his uncle, spurred on by his father at his inauguration of a vice president, and then they had a ceremony in the White House giving him the Purple Heart. This goes back to what he was like in 1988, and Sam Donaldson told us, thank God we found him out because the guy might be president someday. Thank God we got him. Well, it looks like we didn't get him, Sam. Well, it turns out that his father was dead for 5 years before he became vice president. The other guy was dead for 7 years, and he never got the Purple Heart. This is just a year ago. Or the uncle who was eaten by the non-existent cannibals, insulting an entire country. I mean, what president ever did this? Wilson may have been demented, but his wife kept him under better control than Jill does. Apparently, Jill doesn't beat him enough. And man, she wants to stay, huh? Wow, she's an ambitious. Well, maybe they could promise us something in the next administration. Maybe any of those.
Great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes.
Yes.
It turned out very classy students.
That's my favorite.
That woman has a lot of class, doesn't she?
That's my favorite. I want to play it again. We shouldn't, like you said, though, it's kind of sad, but watch Joe throughout this clip.
Great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes. Joe, you.
Yes.
So, man, do I have the right title for her? First stepmother?
First.
I do. That shows you the kindness that she has, like she displays toward Navy Biden. Navy Biden is her step-granddaughter, who she not only doesn't acknowledge, I mean, she acknowledges her, but she never met her, forced to acknowledge her. Her husband, the same thing. He acknowledges her, but never met his granddaughter. But up until they acknowledged her, they would put out the stockings. I have a picture of it. 6 stockings, but none for Navy. What a witch. What a witch. Of course, she's all tied up with the Communist Teachers Union. She must have been a hell of a teacher. I mean, she must have turned out very classy students.
Here is CNN's devastating review, not of President Trump, but of their golden boy, Joe Biden.
the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported, never endorsed him himself. In some of them, he said.
Not only did the Border Patrol not support him, but in the middle of the debate, the head of the Border Patrol said, we didn't support him, we're not going to support him, and we would never support him. Never. He's the worst president for the Border Patrol ever in history. They couldn't imagine a worse nightmare. I mean, some of the lies are ridiculous. There's no way that Trump lied at that level. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Everything he said that they're talking about as lies are interpretations. Here, Trump said the election was stolen. That's a lie. No, it's a matter of opinion. I'm not lying when I say the election was stolen. I believe it. I believe I can prove it to you if you wouldn't try to chop my head off or put me in jail or put me in bankruptcy or do all the things you're doing to me. I know it's true. Okay, maybe you don't, but I'm entitled to that. We're in America. I'm entitled to that opinion, damn it. I'm not trying to overthrow anything. I'm trying to get justice as a lawyer, and I'm being persecuted for it. And you are too, because you're living under conditions you shouldn't have to live under. You have a president. We've never had a president this incompetent, not even close. I can't imagine anyone would. I mean, accept it if you want, don't if you don't. Had he not had dementia, he would still have been the worst president in history because he was the dumbest man I ever met. And he's a narcissist, and he is a sick, mentally ill liar. You cannot compare anybody else in politics who lies to him. You can't. He is mentally ill. He tells lies that are absurd. I was first in the class. He just about graduated. He got almost thrown out in the first year, and he plagiarized twice. I know people from his law school class say he's incredibly dumb. I really got to watch his interpretation of Robert's opinion. Got to be the most useless thing you ever saw. I mean, the guy, I used to tell people, not as a joke, I would like you to think of all the people you know, think of the dumbest person you know, Joe Biden's dumber. John McCain would tell you the same thing if he could come back and he would be honest. He's the one who told me originally how dopey he was. So he would have been a terrible president. Gates was warning us when he said, this is an extraordinary thing to say about a fellow cabinet member, vice president. He never made a correct, in all his years in politics, he never made a correct decision about foreign policy. And you think that's an exaggeration? He opposed nuclear defense. If Biden had his way, Israel would be destroyed now because they wouldn't have the Iron Dome. He opposed everything Reagan did to defeat communism without firing a shot. Dopey opposed. He opposed the first war in Iraq that we won in, 8 days? He supported the one where there were no weapons of mass destruction. He didn't think we should kill bin Laden. He was the only guy in Obama's cabinet who was against killing bin Laden. And he criticized Trump for killing Soleimani, who specialized in killing Americans. Well, I got to keep going on. He took out the troops before he took out the civilians. He gave up a strategically critical base for China, 400 miles from China. Who would do that? In that case, I don't think it's because he's a moron. I think he owed it to China. He's done, he made some claims about fentanyl. I got a chart here. I'll put it out tomorrow. I got it buried behind all of the opinions that I think were great. By the way, this was a great Supreme Court end of session. It wasn't just the immunity decision, which is going to take that case and kick the hell out of it. But how about the decision on the obstruction statute, in which they have, they got 50 in prison right now, just on that statute that is unconstitutional. Imagine in a case of this magnitude being wrong and prosecuting people unconstitutionally. And you want to give me garbage about January 6th? You're not careful enough to make sure that if you prosecute them for things that are constitutional. Supreme Court decided that obstruction statute, since it was passed in the Dodd-Frank bill and has to do with financial records and has to do with the destruction or change of financial records, cannot just be taken and applied to whatever you want. Where they get this notion of a prosecutor, Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, not America, like Bragg. Bragg prosecutes them for things statute of limitations is gone. Nobody else ever been prosecuted for. Smith is the worst. He's the one that comes up with these things. Well, that applies to 50 that are in prison. It applies to, they haven't figured out how many have been in prison already because they wouldn't give them bail on appeal, because the DC District Court and the Court of Appeals, where I have an appeal pending, so you're going to see how they love me, have basically acted like we acted toward the Japanese internment. They've taken these people, I mean, some of them did things wrong. A lot of them didn't. But you don't torture them. We don't have torture in America. You don't keep them without bail. When Bragg lets just about murderers out without bail. I mean, the court went crazy. Beryl Howell calls the judges in and says, you're not giving them enough time. Well, why does she have a right to do that? So let's hope. So here were the polls. Did I do the polls yet?
Not in depth.
Okay, the CNN flash poll was 67-33, Trump. The Sheen Kuberman poll was 51-23, Trump. And the latest one yesterday by CBS was 76% for Trump, or 76% say Biden should quit, and almost half Democrats say the same thing. Now, the family is working hard. The meeting at Camp David reminded me of the meeting in Appalachian with the mafia. The whole crime family got together. I'm surprised you didn't have James and James' wife and all the other bagmen that he's used. I mean, they got a big decision to make here. He's their protection, right? So unsurprisingly, the smartest man that Biden knows, Hunter, advises that he stay as president and that he debate every week. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. She advises that he stay, but she's having conversations with other campaigns to see, I don't know, maybe Newsom will get divorced, or who knows? She might be able to work her way in. She worked her way in on Biden. She'll work her way in on him. I don't think much of her. Sorry. I kind of lost it with the Navy kid. I know family situations. That's a lousy thing to do. It was a lousy thing not even to put out Christmas stockings this year, so you didn't have to face the issue of Navy. And it really is lousy never meeting with her. You know, that gets you into the category, not just of being politically crooked, gets you in the category of a little evil, huh? Biden's family encourages him to stay in the race as they discuss whether top advisors should be fired.
Can't make this up.
You're going to prepare a guy like that for a debate. They had a week with him. A week. Look, I prepared for debates. I prepared for 11 presidential debates, 3 or 4 mayoral debates. I helped prepare John McCain for debates. I helped prepare Romney for debates. I helped prepare Trump for debates 3 times, 4 times. None of them ever sat for a whole week at Camp David. And that's what we get? This is the best you can do. I mean, doesn't he have to leave? You can't even do this again. I mean, what's the point? I mean, do we even need the debate? Come on. We're just jerking ourselves off, aren't we? We really are. I mean, we see him on television. We see him fall. He falls in front of the cadets.
Here's the poll you cited. Does Biden have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president? These are registered voters.
Yeah, well, you see the 27? The 27 are all seeing psychiatrists.
Yeah.
They are.
I was going to say that's a hot.
The 27 are all under mental examination.
Who makes up that 27%? I guess.
Nitwits.
That's amazing. 20
people who can't read or write or look or.
That's amazing.
It could be his family.
These guys.
Maybe some of Biden's. Maybe some of Hunter's girlfriends.
Here's some response. Remember, all these people love Joe Biden. They make that very clear to us first, how much they love Joe.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden and his person.
I mean, how ridiculously hypocritical. Everything you saw the other night was obvious 3 years ago, over and over again on television. You meet with him, Jones. Come on. Can he get his food in his mouth? Truthfully? Come on. You know he's demented. What are you, stupid? That's a complete, and you love him? Imagine if you didn't love him. Holy cool. I think Brutus loved Caesar too. He did. Didn't stop him from putting the knife in his back though, for ambition. Wow. I mean, a whole bunch of them start off that way. The minute, I think Biden, well, he's too stupid to figure it out, but somebody around Biden should realize the minute they start over with, I love Biden, but let's crucify him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brace yourself. Right. Yeah.
And they're doing it just because of Trump. They're not doing it for the country. If they were doing it for the country, they had done it 3 years ago. Yeah. We wouldn't have all these people dead. If they do it for the country, they do it. The first time he fell down walking up the steps, they would have had him examined and he would have gotten 0. He might have gotten 0 before he was demented. He's so damn stupid. Cognitive test for Joe Biden is like a joke. He couldn't have passed a cognitive test when he was cognitive.
I mean, look, the guy ran for president in 1988, had to cut it quits early, right? And the entire media at that time there.
So, I mean, he never got beyond 5%. When he was running in 2016, he couldn't win until what's his name?
Until 2020, until Klobuchar, Buttigieg, and they all quit.
And what's his name? Clyburn got him. He got him elected based on the black vote in South Carolina, which is a minority, small vote. And that was it. And then everybody got pushed aside by Obama because Obama originally wanted Harris. She originally wanted Harris. They say that Michelle got jealous because Obama once said how beautiful Harris was. Maybe we could cause some trouble between them.
Yeah. Well,
See if we can cause some trouble.
well, the latest reporting is that Obama and the Bidens have never had a super good relationship, and that it's gotten a lot worse recently. And this is reporting from Tucker Carlson that Michelle Obama, no, that the Obamas do not like Jill Biden, and that Barack Obama blames Jill Biden for keeping Joe in this race, and for
I
kind
think
of
that's true. I mean, you could see the way she. I mean, do you have any doubt that if she said get out, he would get out? Does anybody have a doubt that he would, if she said, Joe, however they talk to each other, I have a feeling it's elder abuse and she whacks him around. But if even if she doesn't whack him around, if she's nice to him, she says, Joe, I really think it's in your best interest because we love you so much and we don't want to see your career kind of go down in shambles like this with people remembering you as a blithering idiot moron that you, I'm sorry, as, you know, other than what you were, which is wrong on everything that you ever did, according to Gates. I think he'd get out. Or she just could refuse to give him vanilla ice cream. You want your vanilla ice cream? Get out. Oh, okay.
What would happen at an open convention? Is that, I mean, a Democrat Party? What would that look like?
Would be trying to figure out if she could marry the candidate. See if she could break up their marriage and marry the candidate. But she's a little too old for that. Most of these candidates have, are doing a lot better than Jim.
It's fun to read the leaks.
What would happen?
Kamala, first of all, Kamala Harris.
I think Kamala
would have a huge.
To the extent they've been able to poll it, it looks like Kamala is in the lead.
Yes, I would.
Looks like Kamala is in the lead.
If she wants it, I feel like she'd get it.
If you go with these delegates, which you have to, right?
Yeah.
So these delegates are Biden delegates. I don't see how Biden tells his people not to vote for his vice president. Then he's going to admit that he made a terrible choice for vice president also. Well, he did. But he's hardly an honest guy.
And it depends what do you think if he owes any allegiance to Harris.
I know that Kamala is the worst candidate.
She's not the worst.
Newsom could be the worst candidate. Newsom's got a hell of an awful record as head of California. I mean, everybody leaves California. And he actually wants to make America like California.
And that guy's got skeletons.
Well, okay, I will actually contribute to that campaign theme, Newsom.
Gavin's got skeletons. Not that matters as much as it used to, but that guy's got. I mean, come on.
And I know he's good looking, but he also is very elitist, and he doesn't seem to have the common touch.
The French Laundry.
It kind of a guy that kind of annoys you, you know. But we'll see. We'll see. I still think you have to give the inside track to the vice president. Yep. The longer it goes.
Yeah.
Like a year ago, they could have had an open, and maybe
primary.
Maybe I think your governor has a.
Oh, she definitely doesn't want it, right? She came out saying,
I hope.
Oh, I definitely don't want to be president of the United States.
I hope you all watch Dr. Maria tomorrow at 9:00 on Frank's speech. It'll be her maiden voyage with her show. You know Dr. Maria on our show all the time. She's still going to be on our show. She promises me. I'm not sure she's going to let me on her show because it's a very, very upper class show. And you want to watch it. It's really interesting. It's a little different and very, very interesting. I think it can be a very different kind of show and can be quite a hit. So,
and that'll be tomorrow. Be sure to download the Frank Speech app.
Yeah, you'll get me at 7. If you want to stay with them, you want to be with Lou Dobbs, fine. And then you can watch Dr. Maria, and then you can watch me later. Most of you do, you know.
Yeah.
Like about half of you watch us live, and about the other half watch us tonight, tomorrow morning. I don't care. As long as you watch us.
All right.
I think that's the direction people are going in. I think people are going in the direction of rearranging their own, television schedule. So we'll be right back with just a little bit more. To live is on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnels to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Anything else on the debate? Rudy Giuliani back with you, getting caught eating the breadstick.
Oh, you work sun up to sundown. You got to find time to
eat,
take a couple bites, right?
To eat. Now let's see. Let's make sure we got everything you need to know. So the 51 prostitutes, those are the intelligence people who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was the product, the spies who lie. They now turns out a couple of them are working for the government. But they didn't tell us that. In fact, the guy who organized it, Morell, was working for the government. He's a real slimy guy, huh?
Yeah.
Imagine signing that and you don't really know. And the best they can say is they didn't know. You wouldn't have any idea. They never saw the laptop. They didn't know the facts. They didn't listen to the other side. They just want to interfere in a presidential election by lying or by making reckless statements. Let's put it that way. And after the Russian collusion thing had been exposed as a paid-for fraud of Hillary Clinton, you would think they'd be a little bit more careful about putting their names on it. But these people have no honor. In fact, they all should be, their pictures should be taken down from the CIA. If I ever become head of the CIA, which I doubt, Clapper's picture will come down and Brennan. We'll turn Brennan around, have a little picture of Satan there. Rosemary's Baby, something like that. So the French elections. Whoa, are they getting scared there?
Oh, yeah.
Marie Le Pen and that other guy, Bardello. You know, Bardello is only 26 or 23 or something.
Well,
The head of the party, I think. I'm not sure if he doesn't become the prime minister. But he's like the new energy they brought in. And she's done a great job of straightening the party out. And this issue now on Israel has...
Bardella.
Yeah, how old is he? Well, how old is he?
I'm doing the math. 22, 27.
27. He could be the next prime minister. Well, so what happened is they won 33% of the vote in this round. The far left party won about 27. Macron's group of parties won about 20. And a group of right-wing parties, or really more moderate right parties, won the rest of the vote. The question is, what happens now when it gets down to, I think, maybe the top 2, or will they be able to get to 50%? And nobody knows at this point. They never have before. They're sure going to have they don't where they fall short is they don't have the numbers to ally with. You know, you got to understand how these governments work. They work different than ours, and very hard if you haven't studied them. It's like the Israeli government. So they have like 10 parties, 2, 3 big ones, and then 10 parties. So if one of the 2 or 3 big ones doesn't get the 51% to control the parliament, they got to go make deals. So you could literally be number 2, but you have more of a capacity to make deals with the other parties. And therefore you can take over the government. So it's a different kind, it's a parliamentary system. It's a different kind of system. A lot of people seem to feel, although there's a little reluctance because it never worked before, that the sentiment, the conservative sentiment in France is so strong that this is going to happen this time. And a lot of it is driven by immigration, but also inflation, all the things Nitwit did. And Macron's not even a nitwit. He's just controlled by a wife who's like his mother. You see her? I mean, she knows. The 2 of them. Maybe they'll send him to France and she'll take care of him. I don't understand how we're keeping him. If the Democrats throw him out as a candidate, doesn't he have to get thrown out as president? Why the hell are they not putting him on the ticket? Because he's non-compos menace. And how can, tell me how a crooked attorney general can hold back the Her video and put Bannon in jail today? Bannon relied on executive privilege. They haven't even given him a chance to appeal. They could be doing a Smith on him. Look, if you went with the Court of Appeals decision in the case that the Supreme Court decided today, everybody be in jail. Supreme Court reversed it. They may reverse Bannon. And then what? You give him his 4 months back? But see, just like the Smith case and the language by Roberts reveals it, this had nothing to do with a straight prosecution. This has to do with tying him up and getting him convicted before the election. If it gets reversed, who cares? Same thing with Bannon. They want to shut him up. I don't think I'm sure many of you do, because I don't know exactly our audience completely, but I'm sure we overlap somewhat with Steve. But Steve's audience loves him. And he's also, beyond his audience, he's sort of a leader of keeping together the troops. And although you got to go beyond the troops to win, you got to keep them together too. I mean, it ain't going to work if the base. I remember when I advised Trump, I always looked at the base first. And if he did something that was controversial and we got slapped around by MSNBC, and I said, who cares? We start getting slapped around by the base, you got to start thinking about it. You got to start thinking about whether you're right or wrong, how you're going to explain it. Nobody better than Steve to keep you. And if you make a mistake, to fix it. That's going to be a big loss, much bigger than people realize. And they know it because look, they may be scoundrels and crooks, but they're smart as hell, except for the dodo on top. So should Trump debate him again? Or do you play the politics and just say, I knocked him out once. What the hell they may come up with a super drug and make him look compos menace.
Debate him again.
Yeah.
Debate him again. Come September, October. First of all, if we don't, they'll say, oh, look, they're too afraid to do it again. They know Joe's going to do better. The media is going to find a way to keep pumping him up, and he won't be able to perform.
Well, I think Michael Goodwin yesterday said one of the things they're not counting on is they're involved in a process they don't control called dementia.
Yeah.
And this is going to get, there's no prospect he'll get better.
Yep.
So it isn't as if you get him more sleep or you take 2 weeks to prepare, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, how about you start preparing now? I mean, the debate's only in September. How about all August? Take all August off. See if you can get your handicap up. He even lied about that. He first said it was 6, and then he changed it to 8. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He's just such a miserable liar, and they keep calling Trump a liar.
I mean,
If Trump is a liar, he's an amateur. This guy's professional. Trump makes mistakes. He doesn't lie. Everybody makes mistakes, and then he corrects them.
yeah.
I don't think Trump has ever said that he was first in his class and he was actually last. I don't think Trump thinks that dead people are in the audience. There's a difference. Come on. There's a big difference. Does Trump sometimes say the wrong thing? Of course, everybody does. You do. I do. Question is, he doesn't just say the wrong thing. He's in the wrong country. Sometimes he's in the wrong universe. Did you see? I thought he lost the debate on something you really can't spin. If it hadn't been such a disaster, I was just going to play his facial expressions. No words, just his facial expressions. He's like these puppies that I see on the reels who are crying out for help. Look at that. Come on, you see that in a nursing home. Or you see that in somebody that you escorted to a nursing home. Or maybe
Everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. The people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted.
Ted, gee, I screwed that up, or he's too out of it to know.
I don't think he's even. That's the thing, Mayor. I question based off of that.
He doesn't get angry.
He had every advantage they could possibly give him, right?
A week to prepare. Two intermissions. Two
friendly
moderators on his side. Something like 80% of the questions were pro him.
Were framed in a way. Yeah.
Can we show the one that he? I mean, they must have concluded we actually can't help him. They gave him a question on abortion, which is his big thing. And he turns it into an answer on immigration, which allows Trump to beat him over the head about immigration. Now, just speaking practically, right, and objectively, abortion is, polls say, tough on Republicans. Immigration is deadly on Democrats. So you get something on immigration. I mean, if you're a Democrat, smart one, you want that debate to be all about abortion.
Yeah.
You would love it if immigration didn't come up at all.
Well, here he is. So
he takes it and he switches it, and they were willing to ask like innumerable questions on abortion.
Yeah.
Except he.
So they gave up. You're right. They gave up on it. Halfway, like, oh God.
How can we help this guy?
Let's watch the clip.
You can take a fish. What do they say? You can take a.
You can lead a fish to. You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, but you can't make him drink.
Something about not making it drink. Here we go.
We'll do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country.
Now, first of all, Trump picked it up.
Yeah.
So Trump was listening, meaning that was an abortion question. It started that way. He brought in the young woman who died from the people he brought in, right? The immigrants. Then he went back to abortion. So now, if Trump weren't as smart as he is, right, he'd have stayed on abortion.
Yep.
Even without being mentally impaired. You could be fooled into doing that. I've seen people do that. But Trump, listen, you could see his brain working. He said, jackass wants to talk about immigration. I'll pick up on the immigration part, and bombed him with it. He didn't know what happened to him. But I mean, That's why you would debate him again. That's not going to change. That's going to get worse.
That's right.
And the pressure doesn't help. I mean, the pressure that he's under cannot be helpful to dementia. It's got to advance it. And I remember 4 years ago, one doctor saying, this is going to turn out to be a very serious case because of what you see there. That's also a great example of the doctor I had on my podcast, who I'll grab a few quotes of his for tomorrow night, who said that he loses his train of thought in the middle of a sentence. So there, if you go back, I know let's not go back over, but I think they'll remember it. He begins answering about abortion. He forgets he's talking about abortion. And he forgets the girl that he's talking about was the victim of an illegal immigrant, not of an abortion. And then he brings her up, and then he doesn't know where the hell he is. That's because he's losing his short-term memory. I don't know why I have to be a doctor. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who was Obama and Trump's doctor, basically says, you got to get him out of there. I mean, you can't have a president like this. This is not politics. This is national security. What do you think the rest of the world thought when they watched that? People like Tusk in Poland, who's his backside buddy, said, I think he's got to go. Macron has got to be saying it could have helped Macron because they allied the two of them. And I bet it hurt Macron on Sunday that he performed that badly. And then how are you going to use the United States? I mean, you never know. And Blinken's not much better. I mean, Blinken is just a dish rag. So it's not as if he's got a Henry Kissinger to run the thing for him. So somebody's got to start thinking about this country someday, right?
Right. Mayor, how can somebody watch that debate? And that's where I think Democrats are gonna maybe hurt themselves. How can you? It's almost too obvious. There's certain things that you just can't lie about. People, I'd like to think at least the independents and some Democrats will see right through the obvious, right? When these people come out, Gavin Newsom and some of the others, some more blatant than others.
No, but
Joe Biden looks fine.
There's a big difference, right? So all the elected officials have come out for Biden.
Yes.
All the whores, the prostitutes, the crooked public officials.
Yeah.
The press and the talking heads have come out against him. But none of them for the country, all of them because they're afraid of Trump.
Yeah.
Now, the politicians, I think, would like to come out against him, but they need somebody to lead the pack. And they haven't had anybody to lead the pack in a long time. I mean, look, that's why the squad pushes them around, right? I mean, they have completely decimated their Jewish vote. And I think you're going to see it. They completely decimated their Jewish vote. They become completely, irrationally pro-Islamic extremist. Money to Iran, support Hamas, hold back Bibi, try to make Bibi into a monster. He's just trying to protect his country.
Yeah.
You can't miss the Jewish hatred that has been unleashed in America, and the president of the United States hasn't said a damn thing about it.
It is bizarre.
I mean, Trump would be all over this. First of all, he'd have the National Guard grabbing these people. And the point he made, I mean, one of the liars said, one of the fact checks is what he lied about. Nancy Pelosi took responsibility for January 6th. She did. She did. She said she regretted not having taken the National Guard. That was a perfectly legitimate statement. He didn't lie about it. He told the truth. They just can't deal with it. I'm telling you, he's telling you the truth when they stole the election in Georgia. They don't want to hear that there are 375,000 ballots missing in Georgia. What they call lies are their Ministry of Disinformation has decided what the truth is. Then if you don't say it, you're a liar. I don't lie. They do. Everything that's been critical, I've proven to be right. Right about Russian collusion. They lied. Trump and I are telling the truth. Right about the hard drive. They lied. Trump and I are telling the truth. Told the truth about quid pro quo. They did it in Ukraine. We didn't. They lied. We told the truth. January 6th isn't exaggerated. 4 people were killed by us, by our people. None. A state funeral for a guy who died of natural causes. This is not propaganda. And now Nancy Pelosi saying she should have taken the National Guard. They disputed whether Trump made it available. It's in writing. And they destroyed all their records. The January 6th crooks destroyed all their records. We're right about that. And I think I started telling you 4 years ago that he's demented. Did he prove it?
He did.
And what did they tell you just a week ago? He's terrific. He's doing great. Sharper than he's ever been. Who are these people that hate their country so much? The New York Times now wants him out. They didn't know before Thursday that he was demented. Well, I want you people all to write in to the Attorney General and tell him to release Steve Bannon, or if he isn't, to put himself in jail for not turning over the Her video. Now, I mean, we know why they won't turn over the Her video, for the same reason why the Democratic crooks in Pennsylvania, one of whom is the incumbent governor now, and the Republican crooks in Georgia wouldn't show me any of the paper ballots. Because you show me the paper ballots, I'm going to show you they stole the election. If they had run a correct election, they'd love to show you the paper ballots.
Well, Mayor.
Same thing here. Show us the Her tape video. We're entitled to see it now. American people have a right to know, for purposes of national security, how bad is he? Well, we have a 2-day questioning by a prosecutor who says he wasn't that bad.
By the way, didn't Her hedge a little bit? Even at the time, we appreciated some of what he did.
Her was a complete.
To be fair, though, Mayor, he's up against the law, right? I want to somewhat. I know you're not. You're
doing something else for a living. Then go do something else for a living. Don't work for the Justice Department. Go work for the people who want to chop off kids' genitals. That's where you belong.
That's a good answer. That's a fair answer.
That's where you belong. You belong chopping off kids' genitals.
I was giving the liberal answer. The liberal.
Yeah, the liberal answer. Yeah, right. He can falsify. The guy was a blithering idiot during his deposition. The reason he can't be prosecuted is not because he's a nice old man that can't remember. It's because he doesn't have a brain.
Yeah.
His brain is missing. It went to sleep. And it's continuing to go to sleep. And he didn't have much of a brain to work with when he started. Didn't take a long time for this brain to.
It's almost as though Mr. Her, after spending that much time with Biden and seeing how he is, he may have had a larger obligation to make a bigger stink about this, because national security is at risk.
Of course.
And who's running the country?
I consider Mr. Her to be a complete scumbag for doing that. I mean, I'm sorry. Unless, okay, I will apologize to him if I see the tape and the guy is just marginally okay, because that's the way he described it. But if he's anything like he was during the debate, then this guy should get prosecuted for defrauding the American people.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
But we have an absolute right to see that tape, because if it's as bad as I think, he shouldn't proceed one more day in the presidency.
Bingo.
Where do they think they have a right to hold it? First of all, there's no executive privilege. They've already testified about it. They've given up the transcript. They've even admitted they falsified the transcript. And this isn't executive privilege. This isn't him talking to his attorney general, or him talking to his chief of staff, or we have executive privilege, as Roberts brilliantly points out, so that a president can feel free to get all ranges of opinion. And people don't have to be afraid of saying something that might turn out to be illegal, but they decide not to do it. Because sometimes you consider, in doing things as complicated as running the United States of America or New York City, you consider 10 options. 5 of those options can be crazy, but you need those. That's when you think, not when you're a Democrat and you're stupid, but when you think, when you've got a brain and a mind. I was so happy to see that opinion today. It's brilliant. I'm telling you, read the damn thing, or read Thomas if you want to read a shorter one. Just read Thomas, and Thomas will prove to you the guy was never appointed. He's a completely illegal prosecutor. But so was the committee that now has Bannon in jail. They were never properly constituted either. The Democrats don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the law. They don't care about the truth. And they sure as hell don't care about God. Please save our country. Get them out. And I'm saying that because even though, from my point of view, I want them there because Trump should win every state, even New York, by the time this, who knows, I actually predicted if they don't get rid of him, he'll have an absolute total breakdown. So far, all my predictions have come true.
You're batting 1,000, Mayor.
Well, not yet. I think, well, there's no way to know, actually. There's no way to know, and I get that from doctors. He could tomorrow morning wake up and not be able to talk. He could tomorrow morning wake up and be able to do basically what he's doing. Here's the one thing that can't happen. He can't wake up tomorrow and be better. The disease doesn't progress that way. I think it's a very interesting comparison. They describe dementia and Alzheimer's, which are different versions of this. They're all dementia, and there are about 8 versions of it. Okay. Maria thinks his is vascular because of the 9-hour operation that he had that nobody wants to talk about. And probably at least 1 and maybe 2 more that they're covering up. But they cover up everything. So the reality is that it is true, and this, I guess, is the one risk. You can get momentary, short periods of doing better. Meaning you can get a couple weeks where all of a sudden, for some strange reason, you're doing better. Like cancer. There's a whole thing with cancer where everybody, like the day before, or feels so much better, and then, God forbid, they die the next day. I don't know, same thing here. I'm thinking of people that I know that went into that catatonic state. They never came out. But that's the end result. So Biden goes one of 2 places from here. One, he dies of natural causes or whatever, of a heart attack or all the things people die of. And he never gets to the state where, or he gets there. Now, is he there now? I don't know. It doesn't look good. It looks pretty damn advanced. If a week of preparation hidden away at Camp David with every medicine available to you known to man ends up getting you that, you gotta be pretty far advanced, don't you? I think so.
I think so.
So could he do a McConnell, and stay there? McConnell came out of it. It was a infarct or whatever you call that. But I mean, he could do one and just not come out. And then they got a substitute for him, I think. Well, she just announced that she's taking over. They're lying. Trump lies. Well,
There's our friend Steve.
there's my friend Steve. That's Carrie Lake, right?
Yeah. 3 of the 4 people in this picture are very widely recognizable.
No, you're
There's a
getting this.
person in there that doesn't belong.
Yeah, no, you belong.
I love that picture.
Steve, we're thinking about you. We're going to talk about you every night. We want everybody to write to the crook. Ask him how much money his son-in-law is making, too. That'll get him.
Yeah.
They wanted to sue me for that. Everybody wants to sue me. Man. Well, a couple of good days. Looks like God is answering our prayers. And really, thank you to the Supreme Court. It takes guts because they want to decimate the Supreme Court. And I understand the institutional fear that if they go too far, the Democrats may try to pack the court. But I honestly think, and I'm trying not to be, immature about this, but you got to just go by the old rules, guys. They're the rules that go back, 900 years. Just interpret it honestly. It'll all work out if you do. If you don't, look what happened by screwing around with this last election. Look what happened to the world. I really believe if the courts had taken these cases and not thrown them out willy-nilly, this guy wouldn't be president. A lot of people in Ukraine, a couple 100,000 be alive today. Those 13 people that he forgot died under him would be alive today. Who knows how many other people? All those people dying of dying of drug overdoses. 40% more, 50% more than any other president be around today. We'd be on our way, as we were, trying to bring fentanyl down. And getting the border under control with that Remain in Mexico thing, that was one of the biggest advances we had in years. I can't imagine we'd have the Middle East, not with the Abraham Accords. So just think of the damage done to us by the fraud they perpetrated in 2020 that the press let them get away with. And if you don't want to buy into the election fraud, you can certainly buy into the hard drive fraud. And look at the fraud they perpetrated for the last 3 years. You saw it. The guy's demented, and they're hiding it. He spends 4 hours in the White House. When he's there, I think he's in camp something or other the other half of the time. He might as well be in a nursing home and check in every day or two. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then. So let me ask you guys a question, and we'll finish with this. So we've got the talkatariat and the bullshit artists who are all around the politicians saying he's got to go.
Yeah.
With the New York Times, deadly editorial.
Oh, is that something?
Deadly. It's a public, it's necessary for the future of the republic that he go. Really, what they want to say, it's necessary because we'll get Trump.
Yeah. It's so
But
true.
in any event, but then you got the politicians. The politicians are lining up like a bunch of cowardly bums. The way they do when the squad, shows its Jewish hatred, and they're afraid to say anything to help Jewish people.
Yeah.
And they all, including Schumer, goes on. Let me see if I can find a place in Biden's basement.
For as much as he loves the camera, he's not rushing on now.
He's got to say something to help Israel anymore. No. He wants Bibi out. That's not interfering in a foreign election. Well, what do you think? Is he going or isn't he going?
I'm going to say, you might as well, what's the point of doing this if we don't? He's going. I'm going to say he's going. Two things, Mayor, that tell me that today, and we talked about one of them. Well, we talked about both. Obviously, the devastating polling. 72% of Americans 72% of registered voters say that Biden doesn't have the mental or cognitive health to serve as president. The second story, and we talked about this as well, the Biden family, the strategic leak where the Biden family is all loving and supporting Biden staying in, that's exactly what the family would put out if in the coming days or weeks he was planning to drop out, right? You want to be on the record supporting him. They want to get ahead of all the infighting, and the knives are going to come out, right? They're already out.
I mean, one article says that he'll only leave if he gets a graceful exit. But I don't know what a graceful exit is.
The debate ruins that.
What's a graceful exit?
Great. Graceful exit for Biden would probably be just tripping up the stairs onto Air Force One and taking off to Camp David again to maybe prepare for a pretend debate, perhaps. I don't know
what it could be. Get a heart attack. Get a make-believe heart attack. They're capable of it.
Yes,
and he's had vascular problems. He never put out his medical records, so you can't say, oh, gee, he's got a healthy heart, and look what happened. He can make up any medical records he wanted. American people required Trump to put out everything, and even Bush. But on these guys, you don't have to put out anything. And so he could just say, I had a heart attack. The pressure, you did it, Trump did it to me by being mean to me.
Huh.
I have a heart attack, and it really isn't, I will not be able to campaign with my heart attack. And
The current problem seems to be.
if you told him he had a heart attack, he might believe it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She could walk in with Hunter, the smartest man that he ever met, and they could say, honey, you're having a heart attack. Oh, is that why I can't remember where I am? That's it. It's not dementia. Of course, you don't get any blood in your heart. None gets to your brain, and you can't remember you're Joe Biden. Oh, is that why I can't remember who I am? And then he could announce, I have a heart attack.
It appears that Jill Biden is the major roadblock at this time.
I think she's angling for something, and I don't think anybody's getting divorced to marry her because she's over the hill. But that's what would do it. I mean, I think if Newsom wants to beat out Gretchen Whitmer, he should go get rid of his wife and propose.
These guys, by the way,
I mean, you don't think he'd do that?
Well, Gavin would do whatever it takes to get that position. But I just don't think that. I think Gavin Newsom.
What do you think? This is your governor. You think she'd be willing to marry? You think she'd be willing to marry the first stepmother?
Look, they are both very, very much
ambitious, right?
Ambitious individuals, right?
I mean, they got a Secretary of Health and Human Services that thinks you should just chop off genitals at 2 years old.
Gretchen Whitmer has not been vetted. I'm just going to say it. Gretchen Whitmer has not been fully vetted. Gretchen Whitmer.
I don't know anything about her other than she seemed like a petty dictator during COVID.
And she won two what you could argue were very good cycles for the Democrats by default, right?
I don't know about
2018 was going to be good for the Democrats, right? Trump won.
Yeah, and
the Democrats
were 22 turned out not to be as good for us as we thought.
And 22, well, in Michigan specifically, they were able to use that abortion situation.
Yeah.
So she won in very friendly years. She hasn't really been tested. Look, the Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Great press corps. I've got some good friends, part of the Michigan press. When it comes to the Democrat Party in Lansing, unfortunately, some of these guys, but not all, they fold over. It seems like even worse in the national press.
Doesn't she make more political sense than Newsom?
Yes.
I mean, Newsom. So let's assume Newsom isn't as bad a candidate as we think he'll be. All he does is bring you California, and Newsom very much represents something that America is kind of turning on, the wokeness and the beyond just us, beyond just MAGA. She isn't really characterized that way. She isn't known as well. She didn't get hit as hard as him and Cuomo and Murphy for being a COVID dictator. She was, but she didn't get hit as hard. She had that one incident with her husband where
she had multiple incidents. To be fair. Yeah, well, nationally, not so much, but you should hear the names that guys call her in the locker room.
But that's why I thought they were going to defeat her.
I firmly believe that I went into that. You can see me going through the stages of grief. Y'all's coverage was very good that evening. I mean, despite the election results.
It's the year, or she's a better politician than we're giving her credit for.
Yeah, look, Midwestern mom
angling for it.
Oh yeah,
that whole thing where she said there isn't. She disavowed a draft Whitmer movement.
Yeah,
she probably created and disavowed it.
Exactly. She's been campaigning hard for president for the past 4 years.
She gets out there that
By the way, I believe that now. I read that.
She denied it, but she's got. It's
after saying it.
It's like when Trump said, "We are not going to say that Chris Christie is a fat slob." I don't want anyone here saying that Chris Christie is a lazy fat slob. So somebody leaks it from her campaign that she accidentally said that Michigan is gone now.
If Biden's the nominee, right?
Right. And what does that do? That puts in every Democrat's mind, but there's no way California could be gone.
Yeah.
So we don't really need Newsom. Maybe we need her.
Yeah.
Because you guys, I'm sure, will buy into this one. Without Michigan, they're dead.
Yeah. If the Democrat Party loses Michigan in 2024, it means they've lost the election. Yeah.
Elections.
Yeah.
people in Michigan are people in Michigan, but the people in America, so they're reacting to the same thing. If Michigan goes, then Wisconsin goes. Ohio is way gone already. Maybe Pennsylvania too.
Well, I would say, yeah, if I would
Now
say
you're dead.
Pennsylvania, we're more the Republicans have a better shot, I think, in Pennsylvania than Michigan by a little bit.
The only reason I worry about Pennsylvania, I think they cheat more in Pennsylvania. A volume. Per capita, you may be as good at cheating, but volume cheating, they're better at.
Don't count out the Michigan cheaters, though. I'll tell you what, we got cities like Flint, Detroit, Saginaw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing down there.
I
They've
mean,
been doing it a long time.
They couldn't even certify the election in Detroit. They're coming up with all kinds of numbers, 30% more than people who even live there.
Yeah, well, they're cheaters, but they are still from Detroit at the end of the day. So, you know,
right.
They went to those Detroit public schools. They didn't necessarily learn the new math.
They learned to be Marxist.
Exactly.
Yeah. Deutschland, Deutschland. Oh, no, that's Nazism. So one last thing. Do you know there's a big scandal? When we have time from our big scandal for Davos.
What's going on at Davos?
Toxic workplace.
Oh, of course.
All kinds of problems with women. Propositioning women. Maybe men too. And he's supposedly fired everybody. Just willy-nilly fired everybody.
Davos?
He decided he didn't want older people anymore. He fired everybody over 55. Yeah. Isn't that age discrimination? He fired everybody over 55. And the guy who he told to fire it wouldn't do it. So he's suing him. So Davos could fall apart.
What? This is news to me.
And then we could take discovery on him and find out where Klaus Schwab really comes from. I am Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, okay.
And we will have one world here. We've got to do away with the American Constitution first. That's a big obstacle. And Soros is paying a lot to destroy America. Look at the good job Soros is doing. Look, record murders in Philadelphia. You suckers. Have you ever met this Klaus Schwab guy? I have.
I feel like I have just by.
I have.
You have.
I spoke there once, and that was it.
And he was there?
Yeah, I drove there myself. I hadn't driven in a long time, and we, Bo and I went. Bo Wagner was my security guy, and I don't know where we landed. Maybe we landed in Zurich, or maybe we even landed in Geneva and drove across Switzerland. But I remember we drove it, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I played operas and told Bo the stories of the operas.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, and then finally we ended up with Bocelli. Well,
I know we're in Italy this summer.
And I was there for my talk. I left, and I said, never again. Bunch of phony jerk-offs.
Yeah.
And this one world thing, so ridiculous. I mean, I've been opposed to the EU from the day it started.
Serious question, though.
Europe was strong when they had strong countries and where people had their nationalistic pride. The mere fact that Hitler used that is no different than the communists getting rid of it and using it. They're they're actually both socialists. So the fact that you love your country doesn't mean you can become a Nazi any more than if you hate your country. But then you can become a communist. And the communists have killed a lot more than the Nazis. Maybe 100 million to 20. And it's the National Socialist Party. And who was Hitler's ally? Stalin. That's when the people around Roosevelt didn't want us to go to war because they were communists. They love me for that. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 o'clock on Frank's Speech. Get the app right now. Do me a favor, the people who support me and the people who support Steve Bannon, people who support the cause, and you want to keep up with all the arguments that we're going to have so you can make them to everybody you see. Because you got to be like energetic here. You got to go out and get the vote. You got to go tell people we can't have a demented nut job in the White House. We can't have all these crooks in the White House. We can't let them torture good people like Steve Bannon or Peter Navarro. This is an American They're being tortured for their point of view. And they come and get you. They're going to come and get you. They are coming to get you. The poor old lady, 70-something years old, she's going to jail for 4 or 5 years. She was in the stupid thing for two minutes. Now we got 50 of them they're going to let out. But some of them have already served time for a crime that doesn't exist. How can you have confidence in prosecutors who prosecuted people in something so important for a crime that doesn't exist? And you want to give me this January 6th bullshit? Okay. I'm going to calm down now. I haven't had anything to eat, which is why I spent my time reading the opinion. Really was great. It filled me up. And once again, pray for our friends in Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine that are afflicted now by 2 corrupt governments, ours and Ukraine's. And then and the animal coming in to try to kill him, Putin. God bless him. All the people in America. Great country. We still got it. And God bless America. We'll see you tomorrow. First on Frank's speech at 7, then here at 8. Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are